Hey everybody, it's Josh. Just stopped on this rainy day to record a little video. You probably heard it said, what is it, in polite company, don't bring up politics or religion. This was always hard for me because they're the two things I was always passionate about. I am still passionate about it, I guess, but not nearly in the way I'm passionate about God. And I don't really connect God with religion a lot. Of course, I am a Christian, but I follow the teachings of Christ and the way that God instructs me to do it. I don't follow the churches, although I will say I do get a lot from going to sermons and listening to different takes on it, and I watch hours and hours of it. Hours of sermons on Christianity, hours of talks on spirituality, other religions, philosophy, all kinds of stuff. Because I want to always be knowledgeable about it. I feel like God gave me the wisdom to discern for myself what is or isn't something that I should be doing in my spiritual life. But obviously I'm just a man. I'm always wrong. I'm wrong so much. But with that wisdom comes the ability to adapt, to evolve. Now, there's always got to be a core tenet to your faith. And you might not find that until you find God. For me, the love of Christ was always a strong foundation. Even before I was really, I went to church, but I didn't really care too much, we put it that way. I thought, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and just plain love and compassion were basically what I needed as my foundation. I still have that as my foundation to this day, even after learning so much new about faith, about all of it. Even after seeing God, I told you he sent me to study all the religions and faiths and spiritualities, and I still thought that there was this more, I don't want to say mystical, because transcendental maybe type of philosophy, and I really do believe there is at least a spiritual realm beyond ours, what we can't see and what we sort of interact with most. If we have that, let's say we think we see a ghost, or we take a hallucinogen and see things that aren't there, and I think that that's allowing us to see things happening in that spiritual realm. I also think that a lot of times, unless done the exact right way, you do something like a psychedelic drug and you're letting evil into your mind, into your spirit. There already is evil in your spirit, because that exists in the spiritual realm. You're letting evil into your mind, into your consciousness. And if it's done correctly, you are able to navigate through that evil and get that positive experience, but it's still a crapshoot, because you can take. I've known people who took one hit of LSD and never recovered. And I don't mean they're on some permanent trip like we hear some people like if you look up Syd Barrett from Pink Floyd, he was, I believe, schizophrenic, and so he took psychedelics, and then he was just gone forever. He just never came back. In fact, most of Pink Floyd's music is about him. Wish You Were Here, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, The Wall, all kinds of stuff. But that's why I do not think that psychedelics are a good idea unless you are absolutely sure you have the mental health to recover from that. I've talked to too many people who, even taking cannabis edibles or even just smoking cannabis for too long, they get that paranoia, they get that, it flares up, maybe bipolar or schizophrenia or some. And then I've known people who have taken cannabis for bipolar, and it's helped more than any other drug that the pharmaceutical companies have made. Every single thing in this world is a tool from God. Every single thing. Well, let's say most things, most tangible things at least. So some of these tools are destruction for almost everyone. Yet there might be someone out there, or a small group of people, who find that tool as a sort of savior from whatever, let's say, physical pain or mental pain or whatever they're going through. And it's not like we can just go and take we have some sort of, let's say we're bipolar. There might be a cure for bipolar disorder. Maybe it's a certain type of mushroom, not even a psychedelic mushroom, just a certain type of mushroom that has something that can repair those neurons in your brain. Or make them function the proper way, I guess is a better way of phrasing it. Well, how are you going to know? It could be in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. How are you going to go out there and find it? A lot of times God will lead us to the tools that we're supposed to use. I heard a story really quick about things called turkey tail mushrooms. Now, these are very common mushrooms. They kind of look like mussels, like they're shelf type mushrooms, or I guess those are not mussels. I guess mussels that grow on the piers and stuff. If I'm wrong, so I'm sorry. Somebody correct me in the comments, please. And there was a guy who studied biology, and I believe it was either Wisconsin or I think it was Wisconsin. It might have been Minnesota. But anyway, that's not the point. So he had a grandmother who hated going to the doctor. Well, she finally she had this big lump on her breast, and she was like, I just need to go. It's getting so much worse. It's getting so uncomfortable. She was in stage 4 breast cancer. Doctor said she had a few months, maybe a year or two tops. So this man started looking around frantically. Like, what do we do? What are the good treatments? What do we do? Are there anything that can help her? He found something at his university that he taught at. And he found that they were using turkey tail mushrooms to basically cure breast cancer and other type of cancers, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure about the other type of cancers. But he said he looked at the study and he was like, wow, well, I mean, what do we have to lose? Let's take some turkey tail mushrooms. If nothing else, they're good for the immune system, and she'll be on, maybe she'll have to go through some other kind of treatment that'll help her immune system. So she started taking these turkey tail mushrooms. A few months later, they went back to the doctor. Cancer's in full remission. It's completely gone. No trace of it. And he said, what in the world is going on there? So he said it touched him so completely that he moved to mycology, which is the study of mushrooms. And that was his new kind of area of expertise. And he found that somehow these turkey tail mushrooms, which are, like I said, the most common types of mushrooms in the world, you'll see them on logs growing everywhere. They just look like a little turkey tail. Now, don't go out and start eating them. You make sure you know what they are if you're going to go find them yourself and take them. But somehow, these things were able to tell your body that they're cancer cells when your immune system can't detect cancer cells. That's why it doesn't attack them as a foreign disease. It just doesn't know what to do with them, so he just lets them go, and the cancer just festers. But these mushrooms told the body exactly what that cancer cell was, and somehow miraculously cured his grandmother and hopefully many others. But there's a lot of drugs and a lot of treatments. They've cured a lot of things that I'm sure they'll never tell us about. I think I've told this story before. I had a psychologist when I was first disabled. He only dealt with disabled people, and he was talking about his ex-wife who worked, I think it was at Duke, in a lab in Duke, studying, pharmaceutical drugs and creating pharmaceutical drugs. Well, for the longest time, they started making a treatment for Alzheimer's. For the longest time, they thought Alzheimer's was just because the neurons in your head weren't firing enough. You're getting old, they're not firing anymore, you start forgetting, you start going into that dementia state. Turns out in their study, they were wrong. Your brain is actually firing too much. So you have an overreaction in your brain of these neurons. So they developed a drug to control that, to regulate the firing of those neurons. It was doing great. They started moving into human trials. And then all of a sudden, as soon as it started showing real promise, he said that it was on average looking like it would at least offset the symptoms for 5 to 10 years, which is huge for an Alzheimer's patient because they're usually very old anyway. But as soon as it started showing promise, the drug companies came in with the government and the university, and they shut it down. They don't want to cure you. Generally speaking, some of them do, I'm sure. Not many. Why cure you when they could just have you sick and prolong it? And just make billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars on just giving you that medicine that you're going to need because you have no other choice. It really is disgusting. And when people are always saying, trust the science of this, and I trust science for my faith, and, because I'm an atheist and I believe in science. Science goes to, because they say, the Bible is so corrupted, it's corrupted by the churches, and it's corrupted for anyone who can say, who can have power over people. And Absolutely, they've done that, and they tried to do that. I'm not saying they haven't, but we see some of the original scrolls and writings from a lot of the chapters in the Bible, and we can tell that they are very close to what the originals said. Now, yes, they had to translate them into all the languages. Absolutely. They had to do that. But I mean, translating means you translate all the time. Of course, there are some phrases that might lose their meaning in different languages. But for the most part, you don't need, if one little phrase is going to change your entire faith, then there's a problem. And the biggest possible moments in the Bible are all universal. You know, I like to watch Muslims or someone talking about how, the Bible wasn't written until, anywhere from 60 to hundreds of years after Christ was already gone, the New Testament. It's literally, it was even longer for that for the Quran and the Hadith and everything. It was longer than that. And there's very good evidence that things were changed because the beginning of the Quran saw a Muhammad who was tolerant of and accepting of other faiths and very eloquent in most of his writings. It's kind of the layer A and layer B type of argument is what I saw. And then the later Quran, it shows where it's talking about killing the non-believers or enslaving them or taxing them, and there's all kinds of differences. So unless Muhammad just had some radical change, but what it was is the actual man who wrote the Quran, and I forget his name, or some of the scribes that translated them, they most likely had an agenda. Just like the Catholic Church has had agendas. Catholic Church stopped people from reading the Bible for a long time because it was so dangerous to their control of power and information. Now, if you're really concerned about wisdom, cutting off the most wise book ever written is definitely the way to go for controlling people. But my point in all this is that we are, I'll speak as a Christian, okay? Today I watch a philosophy video on YouTube called After School, SKOOL. And it is an awesome channel. I love that channel. They just do illustrations. They have people talking and they do illustrations while they're talking and illustrate the whole thing. But this one was talking about, the comment I read, somebody put like justification is the root of all evil, and then a supposed Christian guy got on there and said, your sinful flesh is the root of all evil, repent and turn to Jesus. And I was there, and then of course the person was like, no thank you. How many people has that worked on again? Tell me how many people you tell them your sinful flesh, your evil nature. It might be true we're all evil. Our human nature is pretty evil. Absolutely. We live in a fallen world, I believe. But these people are so... I'm not even sure what the word is. They cannot see how approaching someone like this is the absolute opposite of how Jesus would have done it. I don't, first of all, I'm not someone who tries to convert people. Now, if someone is curious as to how I became such a happy, peaceful person when they've seen who I was especially, then of course I will tell them, and I will tell them kind of my story, and I'll tell them how all roads for me led to Christ and that salvation. But I'll absolutely tell them how I do not appreciate what most of the churches have done as far as spreading the gospel. I absolutely appreciate the mission work and all these things, but I just can't stand people like that saying, your sinful nature is the root of all evil. Okay, you might believe that. You need to have a loving and compassionate and elegant touch. If you're ever going to hope to persuade someone to even see your side, that goes for not only religion and faith, that goes for politics, that goes for everything. Because most of the time, people are already so dug in anyway, whether it be in atheism, whether it be in Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or anything. I've known amazing spiritual people who just despised Christianity, and it was all because of the churches. It wasn't because of the teachings of Christ. It was because of the churches. Now, no one actually sat down with these people and gave them, or if they did, they were already too far dug in. They didn't give them the understanding that, okay, we personify people. We personify things that we can't understand sometimes. Like a lot of people see God as the big bearded man in the sky holding that staff and sitting on his throne up there. And they see Satan as the guy in the red tights and carrying the pitchfork and with the horns, running around. But in reality, God and the devil or darkness, whatever you want to call it, they are not physical people. So we make them into physical people so we can relate to them. This is probably the reason for so many of the early religions, especially the polytheistic religions, where they are just talking about, Thor, the god of thunder, or Zeus, with his lightning bolt, and or anyone, Athena, Hera, any of those. Ra, the sun god. These are all things that they were trying to understand personified. And maybe, I guess there's the possibility there were some type of advanced human civilization or aliens or whatever. I understand that. But we still simplified them to understand them, if they were. What is it? I think it's the book of Isaiah that has like the spaceship, and everybody talks about the chariot that goes into space. Chances are it was not a chariot going into space, going up into heaven. It's possible. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just a big dumb idiot, but most likely it was not a chariot going into heaven. It was some higher being, intergalactic alien, an interdimensional alien, a advanced human civilization, whatever. But the need to kind of personify things to or simplify things to understand them is one of the greatest things that God did for us. When he came down and made himself flesh and blood. So you have you have Christianity, Christ coming at the exact perfect time in human history. I've talked about this before, and I said I was going to put a link in the thing, but I have had so much going on that I forgot to. If I remember this time, or if somebody can remind me, I will try to find that. There's a couple videos on this where they put timelines of all known religions. And Christianity was right in the absolute center of it all. Because it was the perfect time for Christ to come and spread the message, spread the word. It was the perfect time for that. You know, we were right in the middle of many monotheistic or polytheistic religions, many God religions. And monotheistic means one God, which is the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and maybe one or two others, but not many. So they came at the exact right time to reach the absolute pinnacle of people in the world and have it spread like wildfire across the globe. And then God making himself flesh, God making himself a man so we can relate to him. And then showing us how much he loved us by suffering, living the perfect life, suffering and dying and being resurrected for us. To me, that is the ultimate symbol of God's love. Obviously, I am, as I said, an idiot, just a man. But of all the ideas I've ever had, all the choices in religions and philosophies and spiritualities, to me, by far, this is the one that draws me in. Why wouldn't you want a God of love and compassion? I understand many Muslims need the structure, need the discipline. You know, it's kind of like we have to have that structure and discipline, or it means nothing. And I get it. I understand that this world has gone to crap because it's just a free-for-all. I've contributed to it. Probably so have you. We all have. It's an evil, filthy, fallen world. So why would God decide to come down to it? Wouldn't he be above all that? Well, no. Obviously, God made some sort of rules that he regarded himself, where God's not coming down and he can communicate, I guess, with certain people that he chooses, or he can do anything he wants. But this is just the rules he set upon himself from what I understand and from what I believe. So, since he knows that him descending from heaven and coming down and just telling everybody what the right thing to do is, that would be counterproductive to whatever he is trying to do here. Absolutely counterproductive. Because without faith, without being able to believe in something that you can't see, that you can't touch, that you can't feel with any of your 5 earthly senses, without that, what good is it? It's just like joy and happiness and peace without suffering. It means nothing. We have to have these things that we look for and search for our entire life. Like I said that. Our entire lives. We have to have those. Because it means nothing. If you give a man, what is it, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. It's kind of like that. You give a man a fish every day, you give a man his meal, his comfort, his joy, his happiness, his peace. It means nothing. He becomes helpless. He's not able to do anything. And obviously God has a plan for us. I think that we're in a training. I think that this is just my personal opinion. It's just based on kind of what God hasn't told me directly, but kind of what he guided me towards. And I believe we are in a training, like a training thing to learn to become something divine. Follow in his footsteps. And I don't know if it's each of our souls will one day, after experiencing as much as we're supposed to experience, eventually begin our own universe. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it's all of our souls combined. That would be a better way of kind of having all the experiences we need to understand what the way life should be and the way life should happen. But either way, I believe that we are being trained for something greater. When all are one and one is all. I could absolutely be wrong. Probably am. But I feel that, and that is one kind of theme that I've kind of had and felt strongly in my heart. So we have to go through what we're going through now. The reason I have that, I think one of the biggest reasons is because God showed me the reason for my suffering. And he showed me just because I am supposed to go, since I was in my own personal hell and he saved me from it, I am supposed to go into other hells, and help people out of their own. Or help people just out of their harder times, even if they're not all the way at rock bottom. I'm supposed to lift people up and just nudge them towards God. Now, I would absolutely nudge them towards Christ if they were interested in my views, but that is not the main objective. God has told me to send all of you towards him. Now, I don't know if Christ, like many Christians say, if Christ is the only way to heaven, and I don't know. For me it is. For you it could be Judaism or Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism, who knows? All I can do is what God told me to do, to guide you towards him. And that's what when he found me, when he saved me, he guided me towards Christ again. As I said, I believed in Christ, but I was ready to have something higher. I was ready to have something different, my own personal religion. Maybe it was my ego working there, probably was. But it's the only thing that matters is that we find God, and God will tell us. God shows us the way as long as our faith in him is strong. And I understand we have to find him before our faith can be that strong. But he will show you, seek him, and he will show you his true nature. He will show you the peace and the love that you've been missing. He will take that burden off of your shoulders. He will free you the way he freed me. That's why I'm so passionate about it. I feel like the Apostle Paul in the Bible. I am nothing at all without this mission that God gave me. Without reaching out to you all, without helping my family and friends, I am nothing without it. And I was nothing before this. And God showed me, hey, you see how it goes whenever you're doing it your way. If you want to do it my way, I'll give you all kinds of purpose and meaning. And my goodness, he did. So I am nothing without this at all, which is why I try so hard every day to get out and record these videos. I absolutely believe that these videos and my writing and talking to my friends and family, it is the only thing that matters. Because it is how I can finally give the love unconditionally that I always wanted to. Okay, everybody, I know I'm going on for too long again today. You all have a great week. I guess I'll be posting this probably on Wednesday because I already posted one from yesterday today. So I get a day behind, and I'm supposed to do some stuff with the kids at school, so I probably won't be recording for a few days, and so you might not have one on Thursday, but if I have a chance to get out there, I will. I love you all. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.